again. Welcome back to Be With Television. And we're going to walk through today. I want to change gears just a little bit. And we're going to, I had a few, let me go back. Let me give you a little backdrop. So I got a couple of emails, a few emails last week. A few people were asking me about how did I go about setting up, when I do like lab testing and stuff. So I know that it was a short video. I did a previous video just how to install GNS3, and so I thought I'd go through this time and change up gears and go through and actually show you guys just how to set up a little quick lab. Actually, what we'll do is here. I got a title here. What we'll do is we'll set up a router on a stick. I don't know. Depending on how long it takes us to kind of walk through some of the configurations and stuff, we may just start off doing the switch configuration and then move to the router and kind of progress on out and go out to the internet from there. With that said, I guess let's go ahead and get started. As you can see here, I've already got my GNS3 opened up. I've pre-laid out. These will be my host machines that I'll be working with. And I've designated some IP, some network addresses that I want to, I'll designate as you can see, I got a title VLAN, VLAN 10, which will be HR, and VLAN 20, which will be sales. Okay, so let's get started. I want to let y'all know, we're gonna, with all the things that go on with technical and technology, we're going to have fun with this first of all, so don't expect this to go smooth like butter. Might have a few lumps in it, but that's all about me being here, and we're all working through this together. So if we run into some road bumps, bear with me. We'll work through them out. We'll work through them and figure them all out. So let's get going. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna bring out a switch first, and I got a couple of things here. Let me see. Ethernet. So I think this is the VM. That's the remote switch. Yeah, let's do we'll just drop this for sake. So we're gonna drop in a switch there, and just for sake, I'll go ahead and drop in all my nodes here just so I know what I have laid out. I'm gonna drop in a router right there, and we'll drop in our internet. Let me do the remote one. Okay, perfect. So this will be our internet, our switch, router, internet, our two hosts, router on the stick. Let's get cracking. So, I'm going to go ahead and we'll make our connections as well. So, we're going to have two separate VLANs. So, let's go from one. Keep it consistent. One will go there, and then we'll jump down to about 9 maybe. Let's just keep it consistent at 10. Let's say 10. Everything 10 and down will be VLAN 20. So we got our interfaces there. We're not going to connect up anything. Well, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that just so I can. This is going to be 0, 0, 2, 1, 0, and then we'll make you from here fast. We'll say 1, 1, 2 there. So got our host machines, router, switch, our internet cloud here for our internet. Alright, so go ahead what you do is so you got your host, you got your nodes in here. Got my two hosts, router switch, ES, so our switch, R1's our router. I'm gonna move some of these interface labels around so they're a little bit more visible. I can tell what's what. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire that switch up. If you right click on start, and you'll see it, there it goes, lights up green. Our switch is running. So let's right click again and go to console. It's going to open up our console interface for us. I'm going to fix this a little bit so I can adjust some things so you can see. Alright, so this is coming up. You hit enter a couple of times, once or twice. There. So now we are up into our switch, and let me adjust this up a little bit more. I'm gonna hide router on the stick. Just okay, that's better. I want to see all my interfaces and my VLAN names. So we're going to configure our switch with two VLANs, and we're going to trunk the port so we can start using some set up our router for router on our stick. So typically when you start out, at least I like to kind of do a show IP interface brief. This will kind of give me a layout, so I can see what my interfaces look like here. And so as you see right now, we've got interface fast Ethernet 0 all the way through 015, and we have our VLAN 1 interface. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our host. We're going to set some host names first. So you want to go into global config first, and so that is config T for terminal. Config, if you tab that, it'll actually say configure terminal. Hit enter, and this takes us into global config. Alright, let's set our host name. So we're going to say host name, and we're just going to call this switch. We'll call it switch 1. Okay, and as you see, the name has changed to switch 1. I'm going to back out and save that real quick. So you say exit, hit enter, and that command to save that config is copy running config startup config. And what that'll do, that's going to save our config to that same destination. So it's going to overwrite the startup config. Builds that out, and there we go. So just in case, you always want to save your config after you make some significant changes. Alright, now let's go in and we're gonna make VLAN 1 our management interface. So let's we'll make that our management interface. And just to and also to tell you, I'm not going to go in and go through and doing too much of the console configuration. Just because this is a virtual lab, I mean, I don't have any reason, no need to go through and do that. I may maybe set that up and do that, maybe the switch host management in a later video. This is basically, I want to walk through and show you all how to get this lab set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our VLAN 1 as a management interface. So actually, let me set my VLANs up first. So what you want to do is you want to, from just config mode, you want to type in VLAN database. Takes you into VLAN database mode. Now you can actually just create all the VLANs that you need from here. So what do we say? VLAN 10. VLAN 10. Got to give it a name. Or you don't have to, but I want to give it a name so we can designate. We said this was HR. Hit enter. It says VLAN 10 added, name HR. Let's do our VLAN 20. VLAN 20 name sales. So now your it says it's added your VLANs, but in here it won't actually create your VLANs until you actually exit out of VLAN database mode. So let's exit out. Bam. It says apply completed. So now if I do a show IP interface brief, I don't have my VLAN interfaces created. So let's go in. Let's save our config again. Copy run config, startup config. So I got my VLANs created, and you can actually see this by VLAN show. This is from config mode. As you can see, it's just with the pound sign, so that indicates that you're actually in just basically config mode, not global config mode. So from config mode, you'd say show VLAN switch brief. So there we go. So you can see it has by default on a Cisco switch, VLAN 1 is the default VLAN, and all your interfaces by default will be set to VLAN 1. And if you look down here, we've got our HR VLAN 10 and our sales VLAN 20, and then these are all kind of default built in, kind of not really use much more type VLAN. So we're not going to bother those bottom ones, the 1002 through 5. So we see our VLANs. Let's go in. We're going to configure our VLAN interfaces. So we say go to global config mode. How is that? Config what? T. That stands for config terminal. Hit enter. So enter configuration commands. We're in global config mode, and you can tell you'll have, once you enter global config mode, it'll actually just say in parentheses config. That indicates that you can globally configure this switch now. Oh, excuse me. So let's go ahead. We're in global config, and I want to get when you're in global config, your show commands don't actually work. So a little kind of way around that is if you do a do show and then type in what you want to do, and it'll actually still do your show commands from there. So I'm going to do a do show IP interface brief. So VLAN 1. Okay, so we're going to say interface VLAN 10. And what this will do, this will actually create a virtual interface that's just called interface VLAN 10. Let's hit enter. And there, as you can see, our prompt has changed to config-if for config interface. So we're actually in that VLAN interface ready to configure that. Let's go ahead. I'm going to give it a description. Just when you're in Cisco stuff, I mean, especially working from any kind of terminal, it's always good to, if you can, put a description on your interfaces and things like your VLAN. So when people are coming back looking at your stuff, if you're going back and referencing your configuration, you can actually look at it and have some maybe human readable visualization going on that you can look at it and say, oh, okay, I see what that's the interface to VLAN this, or that's the trunk to this, or whatnot. So let's give that VLAN 10, that interface, a description. So what you do is type description, and we're going to call this our HR VLAN 10. HR VLAN 10. Hit enter. Here we go. Now let's configure the interface. And what do we have up here? We have 192.168.10 as our network address. So Because we're going to use the router interface for our router on our stick, our sub interfaces on our router will be .1. So we're going to give our VLAN interface .2 address. So what you'll do is you're in interface mode. You'll type in IP address, and what did we say? 192.168.10.2, and I'll show you here what else do we need? IP subnet mask. Oh, so subnet mask is 255.255.255.0 because this is a class C IP address, and looks good. We'll hit enter, and that is set. So I'm not going to bring the VLAN interfaces up yet. I want to get both of them set, and I'll go back in and we'll turn them up once we get things all in place and set. So we'll walk through, do configuration, then we'll turn up our interfaces. So that's up. Then we'll say exit, takes us back to global config. Now let's go back into our next interface, which was VLAN 20. If you hit your up arrow a couple of times, you got a history of what you previously typed, so you can easily kind of up arrow and go back and make a change, and makes it a little bit quicker than retyping everything over and over. So we've got interface VLAN 20. That's what we got over here. Yeah, okay, looks good. We'll go in there, change this to config interface. Let's give it a description, and we said this was sales VLAN 20. Uh-oh. Got too much stuff going on here. No. Let me slow down. Let me clear that. Go there. There we go. Alright, so sales VLAN 20. Hit enter. We gave it a description. Now let's put that IP address on there. IP address 192.168.20.2, because it's going to be the second address in our scope for this network. And remember, if you hit shift and then the question mark on Cisco devices, it'll kind of help you along, kind of give you if there's any next options to type in. This will kind of help you along. So it says, I hit question mark, says okay, IP subnet mask, we're going to have the same mask, 255.255.255.0. so we have both our VLAN interfaces configured, and what I do want to do is we're going to give VLAN 1, we're going to give that a 1. How about 11 the 11 network. So that'll be our management interface. So let's exit out. We're going to say interface VLAN 1. So let's go back in here. Sorry folks, I had a text message pop up, couldn't get distracted here. So VLAN 1, let's go to interface. We're gonna say description, and we're gonna say management VLAN, and we're going to give this VLAN let's give it a name. Management VLAN 1. Yes. Management VLAN 1. Alright. Hit enter. We'll give it an IP address of 192.168. we'll put the management of VLAN on VLAN between 10 and 20. We'll just say 11. 11. 192.168.11. Let's see. We'll do ones on this. So everything on VLAN 1 management will be 11.1. How about 11.11? That sounds better. 11.11. 11.11. Let's do 11.11. Minus 11.11. Then we'll say 255. 255. 255. All zero. And there you go. So now, what you want to do is we're going to configure our interfaces and put the interfaces on the VLANs. Put the interfaces on the VLAN. Interfaces on the VLAN. So to put the interfaces on the VLAN, let's go back. Let's save the config. Save config. Okay. We're gonna do the short one here. WR, which means write. That just says write. So it'll write to the config. Write config. Bam. Hit. That's the same thing. That's just a quick way of saying copy running config startup config. Bam. Bam. Same thing. The copy run config startup config, I'd say that's the Cisco de facto. So that's probably what you want to kind of stick to and run, because that's a command that's going to work. So we've got our VLAN interface set up. So let's take a show IP interface brief. Oh, show IP interface brief, and there she goes. So we got everything, and there we go. We got the VLAN to 1, a VLAN to 20, and a VLAN to 10. Alright, everything's down. Our VLANs are set. Looks good. What else do I want to do? Oh, so from here, we're going to set our we're going to set up our interfaces, or our access ports, and configure our trunk to the router. So access ports, what do we say? We said port, what do we say we were going to do? 1 through, we said we were going to do 1 through 9 on VLAN 10. So what you want to do, we're going to go back into global config, conf t, hit enter, global config mode. What you want to do this time, because you want to get a kind of like a range of addresses. There's a command in there that's actually, it's called interface range, and we said that's called fast Ethernet 0, 1 through 9, and which we're going to hit enter. Bam. Notice our prompt there, it changes to config interface like before, but look at after that, it says dash range. That means we're actually in the interface. We can configure a range of interfaces now, which actually what we put in is the interface 1 through 9. So we want to set these as access ports. So what you want to do from here is type in switch port mode. And this is what you can do. Hit question mark, and this is kind of tell you the options you can. We've got access and we've got trunk. We don't want to do a trunk. We're going to do that on our interface to our router. So, but what we want to do, we want to set these as access ports. That way, anything that's plugged into these will get a IP address and everything that will place you on the network. So, we're going to say switch port mode access. Okay, are we good? CR, that means we're good. We're going to hit return from here. That we have turned those one port Fast Ethernet 0, 1 through 9 have now become access ports. All right, so, and we'll do these to the rest of them, but I wanted to kind of, we're going to do each one based on VLAN, how we're setting these up for the VLAN. So where we've set them up as access mode, they're in access mode. So what we have to do now is designate these ports to a VLAN. And how you do that is say switch port access, and it says, look at that, VLAN, and it says put in a number. And what was that VLAN? That was VLAN 10, right? Right? VLAN 10, right? Yeah? Yeah, okay. VLAN 10. Bam. So now we have actually placed ports 0, 1 through 9 are now in VLAN 10. So when we bring that interface up, anything plugged into those ports will respond to VLAN 10. Right, so we're going to exit out. We're going to go back in. We're going to do the other range of interfaces. Remember what those were? So you see we did 0, 1 through 9. So and we're going to do the remainder, which was 0, 10 through 15. The space is important, so make sure when you're hitting that, you do put that space in there because it is important. It won't work with the space not in there. So you get a valid input detected at, and that up area, that caret, kind of points and shows you where there's been some invalid input there. So space is important when it comes to kind of some of the commands and stuff you put in on these Cisco switches and routers. All right, so we've put that space in there. We're going to hit enter. Takes us into our interface ranges 10 through 15. And we're going to basically repeat what we did on the previous range of interfaces. We want to say switch port mode. We want to make these access ports. Okay, and hit enter. And we're going to say go back, switch port access, and we say VLAN. What do you say? VLAN 20, right? Yeah, 20. Okay, so now I got that. I probably you know what? Typically you'd have, this is a one switch. I don't, having one management port on here. Excuse me. Just fine. So we've got our, let's exit out, exit again. If you kind of completely done and you're not typing any other commands into some of the, you can just hit end and bam. So let's go turn up our VLAN interfaces. That says that's up, isn't it? That I didn't turn that up. That must have came up on its own. So let's conf t interface VLAN 10. And you say no shut. That means no shutdown. It means don't shut down the interface. And we hit enter. So I want to bring that VLAN interface up. Okay, then we'll say VLAN 1. No shut, exit, VLAN 1 is up. Okay, and where's my VLAN, where's my other VLAN at? So, show IP interface brief, let's take a look. Okay, mainly up, down. 10 0 1. Oh, okay, that interface is down, that's why. So let's go to, we gotta turn up that fast, this fast Ethernet 01 is administratively down. So let's go in there. So interface fast Ethernet 0/1, and we'll say no shut. Change to up. Should get our VLAN 10. VLAN, I don't have anything connected to VLAN 1, so I should see my VLAN 10 coming up here. Say exit. Exit. And bam, there we go. You have to give it a little time. I was just a tad, I was like that close. I was just about to get like, what? Like you finna make me look crazy on here. I was just about, but let's take a look now. So we turn that interface on, and as you can see here, I don't have anything, there's nothing connected to VLAN 1. So even though it is up, our line protocol is down. So that's because I don't have anything physically connected to VLAN 1. All right, so what we want to do here, we've got our two VLAN, our 3 VLAN interfaces set up. Our management VLAN, VLAN 10 and 20, they're both up. I'm gonna go ahead and let's give it a loopback address. Loopback address is good for testing. So let's go ahead and what you want to do is go to global config, and you'll just say interface loopback, and we'll call this loopback 1. Creates our loopback interface. We're back in config interface mode. Look at that, it says loopback line protocol interface loopback changed to up. So now we'll give it an IP address. These the loopback can kind of be anything. It's just basically for testing purposes. So we're just going to give it a simple, like a 1.1 address here. So we're just working on, this is switch 1. Makes sense to give it 1.1. So we'll say IP address 1.1.1.1 with a 255.255.255.0. We are subnet mask. There we go. We'll exit out. We'll end it, and then we'll save our config. So I've been doing a lot. Copy running config, start config. Hit enter. Enter again, and we're saved. Okay. Let's look at our interfaces again. I always like, that's my favorite. Like to look at these, take a look at these interfaces all the time. So there we go. We've got a loopback 1, VLAN 20, VLAN 10, and VLAN 1. All interfaces are connected, with the exception of VLAN 1. I don't have anything connected to VLAN 1. All right, so let's continue. Let's finish setting up this switch. Since we have a router in here, we're not going to be doing any layer 3 switching. Because these layer 3 switches can do routing, so we want to make sure we turn routing off. So from global config, configure terminal, go to global configuration mode, and we're going to type in no. This is a negating command to, if you don't want to do something on a Cisco switch, you say no. Like no. Like if you're telling your children, like you're scolding them, you're telling them not to do something, you say no. No, don't do that. So you're going to say no IP routing. What that will do is turn off any IP routing. All right, so from here what we want to do is let's set up our default gateway though. So we're going to say we need to have a default gateway, so once we place our router in place, if we want to get off And since this is a router on a stick, but if we want to actually get up and then off of our network, the switch needs to know how to get off, uh, how to send those layer 2 frames. So what we want to do is we're in global config on the switch. We're going to say IP. Am I doing this? IP default gateway, and we're going to make this default gateway we're going to make this default gateway we're going to call you 11.1. Okay, so IP default gateway 192.168.11.1. Okay, so there we go. Now that's our default gateway. We're going to say BAM. We're going to end that and save our config. Perfect. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're gonna give our since we don't have DHCP running, we're gonna set that up on the router, but we're gonna go ahead and give our host some static IP addresses, and let's see if we can ping our switch. We're gonna see if we can ping some addresses from there. So let's go here. What you want to do is this is pretty simple on here. You just gotta kind of go into the configuration, and we'll edit this up a little bit. So we said this was 20. We'll give our host .5, each of them .5. The default gateway was, we're gonna say this will be the 20.1, which will be the sub interface of our router. Okay, and echo name server. I don't need that. I'm not gonna mess with the name server piece. So that looks good. Auto okay, static. All right. So what you want to do, basically, you got your static addresses set up. You just want to uncomment this on the config piece. Okay, looks good. Save that. Apply. Okay. Go back here, do the same thing. Go to config. You'll say here, and this was VLAN 10, so this was 10. I said our host is going to be .5. Our default gateway is 10.1, and we'll just uncomment these. We'll save that, apply, and OK. So now let's turn up these hosts. Say, okay, oh, you know what? Let me save my GNS32 as well. Okay, so I got my host configured, static IP addresses, static IP. I got my switch configured with my VLANs. Both of my VLANs are up. Let's go ahead and start our host. Okay, we'll start both of the hosts here. They'll be coming up. Well, let's open up the console for both of them. This one actually opens up with a web interface. Okay, now let's go to our console. IP term, and let's say if config. Let's take a look at our IP address on here. Make sure we do have a valid, or we have it set correctly. Okay. Over here, what do we got? Usually set. So there we go. 192.168.20.5. Let's see if we can ping our VLAN 20 interface. Ping 192.168.20, and what was it? .2. Show IP interface brief. And what was our VLAN? Our VLAN 20 interface is 20.2, and we're up. So let's see if we can ping that interface. So we say ping 192.168.20.2. All right, let's try that. Voila, folks, and we have magic happening. This is so awesome. We have magic happening. So as you can see, we got we got ICMP packets are being sent to that VLAN interface, and if you wanted to, you could actually open up, right click on there, open up, start capture that, and you can see that traffic being passed. This is awesome. I mean, it's so cool when you actually set up like some data communications, and you successfully see the communication happening, and it's you kind of set it up yourself, and just from scratch, from nothing. So this is just real sweet. I just love this. So we're pinging, looking good. I'm gonna control C that. I probably should have put a little time on it so it won't keep going. So let's take a look at our other host. Go to the terminal, if config, and there's our 192.168.10.5, and there we go. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can ping our VLAN 10 interface. I'm gonna put some time on it so it doesn't keep running. So 10 seconds. We're gonna say ping space -C for a count of 10. That's 10 seconds. And our address is 192.168.10.2. And bam, there we go. So we're hitting from both hosts. We're hitting both their VLAN interfaces. So one host is hitting its VLAN interface, the other host is hitting its VLAN interface. This is so awesome. So let's go ahead and we will stop that. Now, I guess the test is to see, can we will it take us across VLANs? Can we ping across VLANs yet? Can we do that? 192.168.20.5. Is that host? Let's try. I mean, you can't do nothing but try. Oh, on my count, let's say a count of 10. Ain't nothing but try, right? See, destination host unread. That's what I was thinking. So there's no routing set up, so it doesn't. Right now, our VLANs are pretty much isolated. So right now, this is actually would be like a good form of security. So if you didn't want your you could literally just put your have your VLAN. Have your VLANs like this, and maybe apply like an access list. This would actually isolate your VLANs. Now, but if you do want inner VLAN routing, folks, that's where your router comes into play. And I think I'll wrap it up right there. On the next video, we'll pick it back up, and we'll go ahead and configure our router, do our trunks, and get communication between the router and the switch set up. And once we get that, we'll We'll test out some communications from and see if that inter VLAN routing is working from there. I really appreciate you guys for joining with me today. I had a great time. This has been a really fun lab. We'll pick this back up because like I said, I really do enjoy like doing the networking type of stuff and talking about packets and switching and routing and how data moves and things like that. I really find that enjoyable and fun. So I hope you got something fun out of this and you enjoyed this presentation and this show today. Join me again next time. We'll finish up. We'll be configuring our router and testing our internal LAN, our internal network. We'll test that out, test communications from there, and then the last piece de resistance will be attaching that internet module and making sure we can get out to the internet and talk to the rest of the world, folks. All right. Appreciate you guys for joining me. I'm going to wrap it up. If you got to be with anybody out there, you want to be right here with Be With on Be With TV, baby. Be with the best. I'll holler at you on the next go round.